Coming to the indirectly acting or oral anticoagulants. So these agents are generally administered through orally, so that's why they are called as indirectly acting or oral anticoagulants, and they are generally used for long-term prophylaxis. And they are effective only in vivo and shows longer duration of action. So that means the plasma half-life of these oral anticoagulants is about 8 to 12 hours. So the plasma half-life of these oral anticoagulants are about 8 to 12 hours. So these drugs are generally metabolized in liver. These oral anticoagulants are subjected to metabolize in liver, and most of the metabolites are excreted through urine. So the metabolites which are obtained from the metabolism of these oral anticoagulants in liver are excreted through the urine. And these oral anticoagulants are generally used in secondary prophylactic treatment of venous and pulmonary embolism, and also use it to prevent the recurrence of venous thrombus formation. So they are generally used in the secondary prophylactic treatment of venous thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, also used to prevent the recurrence of venous thrombus formation. And here oral coagulants are of two types. First one is a coumarins or coumarin derivatives. And second one is the 1,3 indione derivatives. And coumarin derivatives examples are warfarin, are also called as coumarin, and dicumarol. And example for this. An example for the 1,3 indione derivatives are phenandione, anisindione. First we will discuss about the coumarin derivatives. So the general structure of coumarin derivatives is so this is the general structure of coumarin derivatives. In case of warfarin, so here we denote as R and R1. So in case of warfarin, R is nothing but In case of R1, it is phenyl substitution. In case of dicamerol, so at the R place it is having the hydrogen, and at the R1 place it is having the again coumarin moiety. So there is attachment of two coumarin moieties, that's why it is called as a dicamerol. So it is about the chemical structures of coumarin derivatives. The warfarin is the first oral anticoagulant agent. So it is generally used or generally chosen or drug of choice for showing the extended anticoagulant activity. Initially it is considered unsafe in humans, so it is popularly known as rodenticide. And coming to the mechanism of action, in case of warfarin, generally the activation of clotting factors like prothrombin and factors like 7, 9 and 10 is depends upon the availability of reduced form of the vitamin K and carboxylase enzyme. So the activation of the clotting factors will depends upon the reduced form of vitamin K and carboxylase enzyme. So that means by the availability of this vitamin K reduced form or reduced form of vitamin K, then only the inactivated coagulating factors are activated. By the presence of reduced form of vitamin K and carboxylase enzyme, the inactivated form of coagulating factors gets activated. Thereby they are actively involved in the coagulation cascade. So when this reduced form of vitamin K is not available, so that means it can be available as the reduced form, converted into reduced form by the action of one of the enzyme, that is nothing but the vitamin K epoxide reductase. So we know that the vitamin K activates the clotting factors. How it is activated? So the vitamin K gets reduced by the action of vitamin K epoxide reductase by the presence of reduced form of the vitamin K and carboxylase enzyme. The inactivated form of clotting factors like prothrombin, factors like 7, 9, 10 gets activated. So the activated factors are actively involved in the coagulation cascade. But when there is a prevention of this reduced form of the vitamin K formation by preventing these enzyme. So here the oral anticoagulants like warfarin. So this warfarin having the same structural similarity as that of the vitamin K. So it is having the same structural similarity. Warfarin having the same structural similarity as that of vitamin K. So what is a vitamin K structure? It is a naphthalene ring. So it consisting of a naphthalene ring and methyl group here. Due to the similar chemical structure, this warfarin will commutatively bind to this vitamin K epoxide reductase. So it will commutatively bind to this enzyme, thereby the conversion of vitamin K to reduced form of vitamin K is prevented. So when it is prevented, activation of the coagulating factors are prevented. So in this way, the warfarin shows the anticoagulant activity. So that is a basic phenomenon involved in the mechanism of warfarin. And coming to the structural activity relationship of this warfarin, so when you see in the chemical structure of warfarin, so this is the chemical structure of warfarin, and here when you numbering this ring, so this is the A ring and B ring, the numbering starts from here 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so for showing the maximum anticoagulant activity, the warfarin should require the 4-hydroxy, and at the third position, so that is at the third carbon, it should require a polar substituents. And the third carbon should be asymmetric in nature. Asymmetric means the carbon should having the carbon is attached to the different atoms. So asymmetry means the central carbon is attached to the different atoms. So for showing the maximum anticoagulant activity, the warfarin should consisting of 4-hydroxy group or 4-hydroxy moiety, and the third carbon should having polar substituents, and the third carbon should be asymmetric in nature. And if it is asymmetric in nature, so there is the existence of R and S forms, and these R and S forms are significantly defining potency, bioavailability and elimination process. Coming to the synthesis of warfarin, so it is synthesized from the methyl ester of acetyl salicylic acid. So it is synthesized from the methyl ester of acetyl salicylic acid. So when this methyl ester of acetyl salicylic acid is subjected to intramolecular ester condensation, in presence of molecular sodium at 205 degrees centigrade, then it can form the sodium salt of 4-hydroxy coumarin. By losing water molecule. And when this sodium salt of 4-hydroxycoumarin is treated with methanol in presence of hydrochloric acid, then it can form the 4-hydroxycoumarin. By undergoing reduction. So by treating 4-hydroxycoumarin with the ethanol in presence of hydrochloric acid, it's subjected to reduction and thereby it forms the 4-hydroxycoumarin. When the sodium salt of 4-hydroxycoumarin is treated with methanol in presence of hydrochloric acid, then it is subjected to reduction, thereby it forms the 4-hydroxycoumarin. Benzyl acetone then it is subjected to reduction and thereby it forms the warfarin. This is the structure of warfarin. So this is the synthesis process of warfarin. So it is synthesized from the methyl ester of acetyl salicylic acid. So when it is subjected to intramolecular ester condensation in presence of metallic sodium at 205 degrees centigrade, then it forms the sodium salt of 4-hydroxycoumarin by losing the water molecule. And this sodium salt of 4-hydroxycoumarin is treated with methanol in presence of hydrochloric acid, then this one is subjected to reduction, thereby it forms the 4-hydroxycoumarin. And this 4-hydroxycoumarin is treated with benzyl acetone, so again it is subjected to reduction, thereby it forms the warfarin. And coming to the adverse effects of warfarin, the primary adverse effect of this warfarin is nothing but hemorrhage. So that means it may lead to anemia. Hence, the close monitoring of patients which are administered with the warfarin is required. And other type of adverse effects of this warfarin are skin necrosis, purple discoloration of toe is rarely observed, hypersensitivity reactions. So this one also occurred in rare, so it is also seen in rare. It can also produce nausea, fever, vomiting, diarrhea, GI disturbance, etc. And another important adverse effect of this warfarin is teratogenic in nature. It is teratogenic in nature. So what is meant by teratogenic? It has the capability to cross the placenta and they can enter into the neonatals. So thereby it is generally avoided in case of pregnant women. And coming to the therapeutic uses of this warfarin, so it is generally used to prevent different types of thromboembolisms which are obtained after administration of heparin. So after administration of heparin, so there is a chance of development of the thromboembolisms. So that can be prevented by using this warfarin. And it is also used to prevent the thromboembolisms which are formed in the patients, those who are subjected to undergoing orthopedic and gynecological surgeries. So in these two situations, orthopedic and gynecological surgeries, so after completion of these surgeries, there is a chance of formation of the thromboembolisms. To prevent these thromboembolisms, we will use the warfarin. So this is about the chemistry of warfarin. So next type of oral anticoagulants are 1,3 indandiones. Examples are phenandione and enicindione. So these drugs, so there is a 1,3 inandione derivatives are generally used in situations like where the patients are not tolerated to the coumarin derivatives. So when the patients are not tolerated to coumarin derivatives, in that situations we will use the 1,3 inandione derivatives. So these drugs having the serious side effects, pyrexia and leukopenia. These drugs are also subjected to metabolism in liver, and the metabolites are excreted in urine with dark red color. So they are excreted in urine. And these drugs are also referred as blood thinners, and they are not shown any action on already formed clot. That means they doesn't remove the or dissolve the already formed clot, but it can shows the action against to the formation of the clot. So that means it can prevent the formation of clot. Here we can see the chemical structures of phenandione and enicindione. So this is phenandione. In case of enicindione, so it is a methoxyphenyl. This is enicindione. Coming to the mechanism of action of these 1,3 inandione derivatives like enicindione, so it can reduce the activity of prothrombin. So it reduces the activity of prothrombin, and also it can decrease the activity of vitamin K dependent coagulating factors, and also decreases the and also inhibits the coagulation proteins C and S. Coagulation proteins C and S. So this is about the mechanism of action in case of 1,3 inandione. There is nothing but enicindione. And coming to the therapeutic uses, so this drug is generally used in the treatment of venous thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, and embolism associated with atrial fibrillation, and also used in the treatment of coronary occlusion. Coronary occlusion. So in these situations, this anisindione, so we'll use the anisindione as the drug of choice. And another drug, that is the clopidogrel, is also used as the oral anticoagulant. So it is a platelet aggregation inhibitor. The clopidogrel is a platelet aggregation inhibitors. So it comes under the platelet aggregation inhibitor. Chemically, the clopidogrel is a thienopyridine so that means it consisting of chemical structure like a this is the chemical structure of clopidogrel. So it is a thienopyridine derivative. So it is a thienopyridine derivative, comes under the platelet aggregation inhibitor classification. Clopidogrel, it is comes under the platelet aggregation inhibitor classification. Chemically, the clopidogrel is thienopyridine derivative. Thienopyridine derivative. So it is having the chemical structure like this. And coming to the mechanism of action of this clopidogrel. So this clopidogrel, or the active metabolite of this clopidogrel, will directly inhibiting the binding of ADP, adenosine diphosphate. To its binding site on platelets. So the adenosine diphosphate binding on the platelets will be inhibited by the clopidogrel or active metabolite of clopidogrel. And subsequent action of this one is nothing but it can activate or it can shows the ADP mediated activation of glycoprotein GP2A or 3A complex. So first it will directly inhibiting the binding of ADP to the binding sites which are present on the platelets, and it shows the subsequent ADP mediated activation of glycoprotein 2A or 3A complex. So thereby it can ultimately prevent the platelet aggregation. So this is the action of clopidogrel. And coming to the therapeutic uses of this clopidogrel, so it can prevent the stroke and heart attacks. And this clopidogrel with combination of aspirin is generally used in the secondary prevention of myocardial infarction and coronary artery syndromes. So it is generally used to prevent the stroke and heart attacks, and in combination with the aspirin, this drug is generally used in the treatment of secondary prevention of myocardial infarction and coronary artery syndrome. So by this we completed the chemistry of anticoagulants. Up to now we discussed about the chemistry, mechanism of action and structural activity relationship of warfarin, anisindone and clopidogrel. Thank you.